Happy Monday! Thank you for joining me tonight. We are starting the embroidery of the month. It is the Fuzzles Embroidery, and we also have another version, the Scrappy Embroidery. And these both use a technique called couching, and we have not done it here yet during our live streams here, but it's going to be fun. I'm surprised we haven't done it here. Maybe we have once or twice. I don't know. Let me know if you remember if we've ever done this technique, but I don't think we have. So it's going to be fun giving it a go tonight. Thanks for joining me here. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter, and I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can just relax and craft together here for about an hour. And I work on projects from beginning to end, so you can be part of the process along the way and just come hang out. All right, you guys, so again, we are working on the embroidery of the month. We're giving it our go. This is day one, and we'll work on it this week. So thanks again. Let's get going. All right, so I have my pattern out right here. I'm going to get a bit lower here tonight as well. So we have the pattern that this is what you get when you purchase the bundle or just the pattern itself. You'll get the PDF pattern. I'm going to just scroll ahead to this page here. And, hold on a sec, guys. There we go. To this page here where it tells me what colors to use and what stitches to use. We are basically just doing two stitches with there's a few French knots in here, but it's basically some back stitching for the words, and then, a couple little stitches here and there, a couple little French knots here and there. But the rest is the couching stitch, and what couching is basically holding down a piece of anything, really. In this case, it's going to be floss, and we are going to be holding it down with other little stitches. You did couching on your sewing machine for Stars of the Baby Cook. So that's right, Amy. So we did do a version of couching for machine stitching, where we basically zigzag stitched, or no, I don't think we zigzagged. I think we just did a normal stitch on the sewing machine, but we stitched onto yarn. And so we basically couched there as well. So couching is the act of like holding something else down with some stitches. So you can see all of these little stitches here are actually holding down this basically loose piece of floss here. So that is the plan for tonight. I kind of want to get started on the couching right away. I thought at first maybe I'd stitch the fuzzles first, because then that would give us a lot of like backs of stitches to weave in our ends, because the couching doesn't leave us too much to weave in, but the couching is going to be too much fun, so I think we start there. All right, so I'm just going to have the instructions near me here. Oh, and then here's the Scrappy version. So we have two versions of this. Because Fuzzles, if you guys are new here and you are not familiar with the word fuzzles, this is basically my term that I say on here all the time when I get little strings and stuff attached to me, or like these are some little fuzzles stuck on the edge of our fabric here. Any little loose piece of something hanging out, fabric-y related, we got some fuzzles. We're dealing with some fuzzles. And then this is Scrappy, in case you're not done with the fuzzles. Okay, Gretchen's asking, could we basically use stick and stitch with this? So that is that's that sticker that you print on, and that usually comes with our kits, but this time we have pre-printed the kits for you. This is a new thing that we're doing. So this is our first pre-printed kit. So you don't have to use the stick and stitch. We did not include them in the kits this time because we've already pre-printed. You can use stick and stitch, but you're just going to have to just be extra careful when you wash out the stick and stitch to, not pull. You don't want to like get a finger underneath one of these couching stitches because you might pull all your floss out. But you totally could. We did not include we didn't include stick and stitch again with this one because we have pre-printed it. So this will be nice. You're just stitching right onto the fabric, so it'll be nice to do it more accurately, I think, too. Oh, Jo says she's doing the Scrappy. Nice. I actually kind of think this looks like a champagne bottle. Like, this would be a good champagne. Like, Fuzzles, that sounds like a good good name for a champagne. So really the only thread we are using to stitch is our Euro Peach thread, and I forgot to bring that kind home, so I'm actually using some scraps, but all the other colors in this are not stitched. They're the colors that we're holding down with our stitches, so we are actually only stitching with the Euro Peach. So I have enough here to get us started. I'm going to do the 2 strands of floss for this. I think it'll be a nice contrast between the 6 strands. So I am not splitting the floss for, like this yellow that I'm tracing. For anything that's not the orange, the part that we're couching down, those we are leaving the 6 strands. So those are 6 strands, all of these guys over here, while our stitches I'm just going to do with 2 strands. So we'll have a neat contrast between the really little stitches, like the thin, only 2 strand stitches, versus our big fat 6 strands. So I think that'll be kind of fun. Yes, gold work is done with couching. Mary's asking, should I iron my pattern creases out before I hoop? I think in this case you can probably just hoop it and press later. I do have a tip though for pressing. So and this is with all of our iron-on transfers as well. When you're ironing with the transfers already on here, make sure to put like a piece of like a paper towel down first and then press on the back. I think that will probably work better because you might actually transfer this design onto another piece of fabric or your ironing board if you just iron it. So it might not happen, but it's just to be safe, lay down a piece of paper towel and then you can press it. But I think you'll probably be fine just putting it in the hoop, and then we can press it when we're done. All right. Sally's doing the fuzzles. We might actually, I don't think this is going to take too long, so we might actually have time to do both. I would love to experiment a little bit with the couching as well. I do actually have some gold, well, it's not gold, I'm sure, but like metal. Let's call it metal. Some metallic floss, but it's not really floss, it's actually metal, so that we could actually try couching down. So we could play around with some other things we could couch. I mean, I keep saying this, I feel like I must have seen this somewhere, but you could actually put like a stick on here or a leaf or something and couch it down, like put little stitches there to hold that down. So you can really play around and get really creative and fun with couching. You are just holding something else down with a thread. All right, so I'm going to start with, I think this is just enough floss here to do our two thread method where we do the loop method. So for that, I'm actually going to only separate 1 strand of floss, and you're going to want your floss kind of double the length you would normally want your floss. So I usually like stitching with 24 inches or so. So this is about 48 inches, I would say, because we're going to be folding it in half. We're folding 1 strand in half to make 2 strands. So that's the plan here. So I have kind of double the length. All right, I'm just going to prep all this, get it threaded. Let's get the good old thread conditioner out, because why not? It smells yummy. This is that Wisecraft handmade. Yummy. So this is the Earl Grey. Kind of, it's a pretty smell for sure. So I'm running it through here. It's kind of fruity without being sweet. It's like an earthy, fruity, rich smell, that the Earl Grey one. All right, so I'm threading the needle here. Ooh, this might be a good time to grab my needle minder here. I think we'll use the little cloud needle minder again tonight. Gosh, even if I just have it, maybe I'll just have it sitting on the side here and I can just plop my needle on there. Because first, we are going to need to grab what we are couching down. And I am thinking, you can really go in any order you want, but the order you go in is going to determine like what sits in front of something else. So like in this case, you can see I did this gray before I did this yellow, because the yellow is sitting on top of the gray right here. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to kind of, I don't know, I might just go around in a circle. I think that would be just fine. So however you want to do it, there is kind of a little suggestion of how to do it in the instructions, but you can take that or leave it, really. So I'm just going to see what happens while we do this. So I think I'm going to... I've been talking about that yellow one. For some reason, I've been tracing that yellow one with my hand, so I'm going to use yellow first. So you are going to want to cut a piece that is for sure as long as what you're going to, the little swirl, you're going to want it as long as that, plus some extra. So let's find the end here. And you can let it hang a little bit. So I'm just going to do a little quick estimate. This looks like plenty. All right, I'm just going to snip that there. So one tip for when you start is, my line starts here, but leave an extra tail. We can trim those off, and if we accidentally pull this a little bit while we couch, then we'll have a little leeway there. So I'm going to leave like a little, I don't know, maybe an inch is too much, but I'm going to leave about an inch just hanging out there, and that's the plan. So how we're going to do this is we are going to just make tiny stitches around the swirl here, but I'm always going to try and stay perpendicular to the part of the line that I'm on. So like if I want to make a stitch right here, this part, is going up and down, so I'm going to go directly across like this, perpendicular. Whereas, now I'm curving down here, so here, perpendicular is kind of at an angle here. Whereas like right here, perpendicular is maybe about like that, right? So I'm going to try and keep that kind of like 90-degree angle going this entire path. So I'm always going to be changing the angle of my stitches just a hair, if that makes sense. So we're going to be doing that. And I'm going to be putting a stitch wherever I feel like I need it to keep the curve. So you might notice in the instructions, and I'll be doing this too, on these tight curves, I'll be probably putting a little bit more, because I don't want to put one like here and here, because then it would be like a straight line between the two, right? I want to make sure that I can get that curve. So I'm going to put a few more stitches in that curve, whereas this straight line, I might space them out a little bit more. So enough of that, let's just give it a try. How about that? So I am going to start on one side of my line, kind of at the edge. I'm not all the way at the edge because we're going to trim it. So I'm about in 1/8 inch or so. And I'm going to pull it through a little, but remember I have the loop on this end. So remember we folded it in half, so I have that loop over there. I'm going to just let that hang out there while I make my first stitch. So I'm going to just kind of roll over my yellow thread so it's kind of in place, and I'm just going to go right on the other side of that line. So I'm making like a itty bitty 32nd of an inch stitch or so, And in the process, I'm going to be holding down that yellow piece. The rest I'm just letting dangle, so I'm kind of holding it with my thumb. All right, I'm going to start pulling it to the back, and I'm going to keep holding it with my thumb. But for this first stitch, remember we're going to loop through the end of our folded floss there. So we're going to get that pretty loop method start. All right, and that is our first little stitch right here. We've got our first stitch and we've got our thread started using the loop method. So that's probably going to be the most coordination you're going to need on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of shush this out of the way a little bit, find where I want my next stitch. I'm going to go maybe about right here. Again, this is that curve, so I want to make sure I'm getting like every kind of like point in that curve. I'm going to come up. Then I'm going to just kind of shush this in place. And we're going to come down on the other side. Again, we're going to be like perpendicular to the direction of our line. There we go. We are couching here. All right, so I'm going to just keep going around. I'm shushing it out of the way. And then shushing it back. This is why I wanted a little bit extra, because if I accidentally pull on this a little bit, you know, it can slide through, and I'll still have a little extra at the end. Because that would be so annoying if you got like a ways done and then pulled it out on accident. So I'm still making pretty small stitches. If you get a little bloop in there, like if this gets a little high up there or something, you can just pull it a little bit. And again, just gently so you're not pulling any of that excess out. This is much easier if you move it out of the way while you do it. Oh gosh, is everyone just totally in snow and ice right now? I feel like the whole country is in snow and ice. I think, ooh, I'm going to lose my thread here. It's been like in the negative 20s or something crazy here by us. And by my parents, it was slightly warmer, like negative 12 or something. But hooey, man, you get that matched with some wind and you're pretty dang chilly. Oh God, and I think by John's parents, I think it was like negative 30 or like negative 35 or something, and that is without wind chill. So with wind chill, it had to be like negative 50 or something. Oh my God, I hope that we didn't talk to him today, but we saw that on our phones that was the temperature. So that's pretty crazy. All right, so it doesn't really matter what side you come up or down on. I think I'm kind of switching sides now for no real reason. All right, so now I'm kind of on this straightaway, so I don't need to be as close, so I'm going to just go up here. We just need enough stitches to hold this down, right? And to keep the shape we're going for. So on these straightaways, I don't need as many stitches to make it a curve. You could be really consistent. That might be actually really pretty. Like if you did like, you know, I don't know, a 1/4 inch between each stitch, that would be really pretty all the way around. I'm just going every which way. Different lengths, I think that's fine too. But I love the contrast between my little skinny piece of 2-strand floss here and how thick this 6-strand floss is. Okay, that thread can just stay out of my way. Ugh, Catherine says it's supposed to be negative 15 tonight in Kansas. It is just a crazy, crazy spell of cold for everyone, isn't it? I can't believe all you southern people, too, with all your super duper cold. Like, that's gotta hit hard. And just the ice and all of it is just crazy. Sylvia says it's getting better by her. It's snow and a sunny 25 degrees. I think we're supposed to be back up around there. Maybe not 25, but like maybe close to 20. I think we're supposed to be closer to that, like by Wednesday or something. But today it's pretty chilly again. Luckily we drove home today, and luckily it was just sunny and dry, because the cold and some wetness would have been pretty scary. We might have stayed at home or stayed at my parents' house if that was the case. Bad weather. But it was sunny and dry and bright. Ooh, Carol! -25 in Nebraska with -40 wind chill. Whoa, stay inside. Ugh, it would be so scary. I know a lot of people like lost power and stuff because the ice on the power lines. That's scary when it gets this cold for sure. So here's kind of a straightaway again. I'm gonna make a little bit bigger stitches. So I'm not coming up right on the line. I'm coming to one side of it, and I'm going back down on the other side. You want like those couple threads of the fabric in between your stitch. You don't want to go back in the same hole, and you're more likely to go back in the same hole if you're stitching right on the line. So I like going on one side and the other. Out of here, guy. There. Alright, so we're kind of starting the curve again here, so I'm maybe doing a little slightly shorter stitch. Oh, Charlotte says 9 degrees in northern Mississippi. That's gotta be unusual. Like an unusual feeling for you guys, I would think. Alright, so I think I might have like just enough thread. I'm gonna have like maybe 3 or 4 inches left, but I think that's a little too close to call, so I might make my thread a bit longer next time. You know, in theory, you could leave it hanging on the skein, but I think that extra weight, you don't want that pulling on here, because remember, we don't want to pull out this end. And I think we'll probably leave all our ends until all of our stitching is done. And then we'll go around and snip all our little ends off. Just in case we accidentally pull on something, we don't want to have this come out. I don't think it'd be the worst to fix. We could just thread an end and try and stick it in all the little stitches, but, you know, that's not ideal to have to do that. Ooh, Carol says rolling blackouts. Never had those before. Power shortage. Yeah. That's scary. So I hope this all gets figured out by midweek or whatever, at least midweek for us here. Scary. I think we'll come up on this side this time. My thread's hanging out over there. Might as well go with it. So you can kind of see how my stitches are rotating to be in line. This really is fun. This is a quick way to cover a lot of ground, I feel like, this couching. So we're couching pretty far apart. There are several techniques where you would couch way closer to each other, or like in a certain pattern and stuff, but we're keeping it simple. Oh, interesting. So Deborah says, I saw a video today that showed a satin stitch couched in a ladder stitch with metallic thread. That is so creative. That's really interesting. That would be fun to try. Yeah, again, couching is just the act of holding down other stitches, really. So that sounds more decorative, because, like, I guess a satin stitch would kind of, that can exist on its own without being held down by something else. But that added little decorative couching sounds amazing. That sounds really pretty. This project would be good for metallic thread that is hard to sew with. Exactly. So that's kind of what I want to break out my metallic threads again, because I do have several. that are difficult like that I can't actually sew with. Some of it are even like flat and wide, so you wouldn't even want those going through fabric, you know? I might break those out at the end of the week, and we might try some couching with those. I think that would be just so much fun. So basically kind of like some little sort of gold work. Gold work without all the studying to make it really good. We'll just play around a little bit. Oops, I suppose my thread's on this side. I'll come up on this side. We're almost done with our little yellow. And you can always, I mean, I'm using a contrasting color. You could always match the color if you really wanted to, but I think it's kind of fun with a totally different color, color thread, color floss. And it has like all these little speckles of color almost. Uh-oh. That's always annoying. When the thread gets shorter, I always end up pulling out the ends from my needle. So let's get those back in here. I always do that. It's so annoying. Maybe about 3 or 4 more stitches here. So as you guys work on this, or you know, try some of these things out, let me know what you think about the new printed on design. So that's a new thing that we're playing with. I think it's going to be just nice for people if they just want to get started right away. So let me know what you think. Mary's asking, do I alternate, bring up the orange thread? So if I'm alternating on which side of the line, I'm not on purpose. I'm just kind of, if my yellow is kind of hanging out over here, it's just easier for me to do it on this side and then bring it close to that stitch and stitch on the other side. So that's just what I'm going on. I don't think it matters. So whatever you want to do, I don't think it's going to affect anything. All right, but there we go. Our first little piece. Look at it. It just looks like a little squiggle hanging out there by itself. That's fun. So, all right, I'm loving it. I'm going to just go to the back here. So I do have plenty of stitches to weave in. You know, actually, I wouldn't have to. I have thread left here. Why don't we? Let's just get a few nearby things here. Let's get this X here. Why not? And I could actually just start couching the next thing with this same thread, but I don't have a ton of thread left, so let's just get this little X, and I'll get this little French knot up here. And then I think we'll call it a day with this thread, and I'll get another one. But I could have just started up the next couched thing. But, you know, whatever you want to do. Everything is stitched with this orange, so you can just use it. So, all right, I'm doing my French knot, pointing away from the fabric around twice, and then I'm grabbing the loops, pointing it back towards the fabric here, and then pulling it tight before lifting it up, and I'm going to put my thumb on that knot to just kind of hold it in place. There we are. So a little French knot there. And I think we'll probably stop there with this thread. I do kind of have a little bit here. Wonder if we'd have enough to go around this. We might. I think that we have enough to do this little shape here. So I'm going to come back here. So this is probably where I'll start. Well, I think I need to go a little closer to the end. So that's where I'm going to start the next piece. I'll wrap it around this way. So I'm just going to bring this up and let that sit for a moment. I am going to cut a little bit of this yellow because this is kind of just a lot hanging here, but I am going to leave a bit. Ultimately, I'll cut it to about like here, but I'm going to just leave a little bit, and this just was a little too long. Okay, so that part is this gray. Ooh, I might be cutting it real close with this orange, but oh well. If we have to do one extra stitch, then we do one extra stitch. So again, I want kind of enough to go around here. Just kind of estimating. This should be plenty. It should be more than plenty, which is what I'm shooting for. I want a little bit more than plenty. All right, and I'm gonna leave that, you know, extra length, like 3/4 of an inch or an inch or so. Oh, Beth says, I'm working on my first embroidery and I appreciate the pre-printed fabric. Okay, that is great to know. I really appreciate that. So we're just trying to make things as easy as possible to get started stitching right away. And I think this pre-printed fabric is going to be a helpful step to that. So I also might start having the option, or like just having some iron-on patterns, or with the option to have them as stick and stitches instead. So then you guys have some choices, I think. Oh, you think you'll use a knot for the couch thread? Oh, so you could, that's not a bad idea. Like, okay, so are you saying, I mean, you could knot the end of this and like make a temporary stitch, and then it's held into the fabric with a knot, and then you could snip that later. You know what? That's a good idea. Maybe we'll try that with the next one. That would be a kind of an interesting way to do this, especially if you're worried about this coming out, or if you're gonna be, you know, moving around a lot with your embroidery and you don't want it to accidentally get pulled. That might be a great idea. So we'll give that a try. I think that's kind of fun. And Amy says, I like the PDF so I can resize. Okay, so that's good to know. So we might do a scenario, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, where we have the PDF, and then you can, like, the PDF will be available with maybe everything. So you can do the PDF with the iron-on transfers, or you could do the PDF with the stick and stitch, or the PDF with the whole bundle where it's pre-printed for you like this. That might be a way to do it. Ugh, I think I'm going to run out of this orange. Which is fine. Whatever. Because I'm making kind of a lot of stitches on here, but it's pretty curvy, this one. Yep, so the pre-printed fabric is definitely easier to stitch through than the stick and stitch was. So that stick and stitch, that sticker that has it printed on that you wash off with water, that is definitely more to stitch through, and you're not actually seeing the actual fabric. It's awesome for its flexibility. Like, you can you know, you could use that to stitch onto a sweatshirt and stuff really easily and help stabilize it. And I love that product for sure. But there is something nice about feeling the actual fabric like we are here with a pre-printed. So this is semi-permanent. That is the kind of difference here. So this is not going to come completely off of your fabric. It will fade significantly, like to about half of the darkness with water, and it won't smear. Like, it won't bleed when it gets wet or anything. So if you cover up the stitches, you're covering up this, or cover up the lines, you're covering them up, which is good. I just caught the end in there, and it'll get to about like half the opacity and maybe even more, but it won't completely go away. So every method has its good things and its not so good things. So I like to have the option a little bit. I'm really pushing it with this thread. I think we might Well, I got a little bit of a tail in there yet. I might just... Oh god, we're playing thread chicken for sure here. I might make it, but... Ugh, it's gonna be real close here. Yeah, I'm not sure we're gonna make it all the way. I'm gonna have like 2 stitches left on this. Oh well. Oh yeah, so Colleen says pre-printed is good for me, but I also want the pattern for the second image. Yeah, so that's why I think I'll have these continue to come with the digital version, so you can have that. Yep, Lisa says PDF is my preference because shipping is expensive. Yeah, overseas for sure. Oh god, yeah, Canada, it's extra a lot, which is just so crazy to me. Just all of the shipping. It's just such a bummer. Shipping costs. But yeah, so I think we'll continue to have PDFs of these. Alright, I think that's the best I can do. I'm gonna have to start a new thread. What a bummer. If I wouldn't have stitched like these 2 guys, I think we would have made it, but I don't know, it's nice to have those, the little X and the little French knot done too. Alright, let's... Oop, got the yellow stuck on me here. Let's weave in our ends. I'm just going back and forth through the backs of a bunch of these stitches. I'm going to go back and forth 3 times. I'm going to try and grab as many little bits of thread as I do this to kind of lock it in place even more. This is fun. This is fun. I just think it's kind of magic that I'm really only stitching with one color, but we're going to have all of these threads in. It's kind of fun. Alright, so I'm not done with that gray. Let's grab another strand of floss from here. Yeah, Kimberly says it's going to get pretty crazy to ship domestically soon too. Yeah, it's crazy. Alright, I'm just getting the ends together here. Let's do the thread conditioner again. Oh, the update on the stilettos. I didn't see who asked because it flipped by too quick, but the update on the stilettos is, yes, you guys are really excited about the stilettos, which is amazing because I'm excited about them too. So we've had to reorder the beads and everything for it like 4 times. So they're all on the way, these beads and the cute little separators and enders and stuff. Oh, see, look, now I'm full of fuzzles already. Those are the fuzzles. So we've had to like reorder stuff a bunch of times already. So they'll kind of come in little batches. It'll probably be another month or so before we have it all. So, but it's all on its way, and it's going to be fun to make those. And I did actually order some other cute ones too that are a little different. So I might have those up as little bundles yet too. All right, so I got that loop on, the fold on this end, and, the 2 raw ends on this side. Let's start it up again. I'm going to do a couching stitch, and I'm going to do that loop method. So let's go, like, put the thread through, like, halfway, leaving that little loop here. Let's make our stitch. We got to make sure that I don't go in the same hole for this, otherwise the loop method won't work. Alright, so then let's pull on this. Let's make sure I get through that loop with my needle. There, and now I'm just going to pull that loop tight, and there we go, just that little itty bitty deal right there. Loop method, it's amazing. It only works with, like, a doubled up floss like this, so you can take 1 floss and make it 2, or 2 floss and make it 4. Some people have said you can do it with an odd number, but I haven't haven't quite figured that out yet. Oh, thanks to everyone who ordered our scissors this weekend. We had a little special on our new scissors. So we got some Singer scissors, some embroidery scissors in the shop, and they're nice because they have that kind of rubber handle. I think I have one nearby here. But yeah, so they're cute little 4.5-inch scissors, but this has that rubberized handle, so it's not. I don't know. Some people, like especially if you have trouble with your hands, sometimes that rubber handle is a bit nicer. So thanks for those orders. Those will be headed out tomorrow. I think we'll be getting. I have a few new fun items on the docket that hopefully will be coming in soon too. So keep an eye out for emails on that. Oh, Kimberly, so they're still available. They weren't on sale, but they came with a free pattern. So kind of on sale, but it just, you got the free drinks for 2 pattern with it. So that sale's over, but the scissors are still available. I think we have a few more yet. Okay, there we are. Oh, Kimberly says, I think my scissors are motorized. They travel on their own. I have so many little scissors. I like actually keeping them with each project that I have. It's just, you always need a scissors with whatever you're working on. So I really like having them available. I just stick them in different projects. All right, so I have a whole pile of thread here, and I'm done with that gray. So I'm going to just kind of come up here to do this French knot. I'm going to work my way down here, and we're going to do this guy next. Oh, and it's more gray, actually, so we'll cut another piece of gray. So I'm just pulling it up so my needle's on top here, and I'm going to trim this a little bit. I'm going to leave some excess again. All right. I'm going to grab a new piece, though, because I don't think this will get me very far. Although this might work, I'm going to save it, because this little bit up here, this will be, like, just long enough for that, I think. So we're going to save that piece. This is great. This is a great way to use up scraps, really. This is a great way to use up scraps. You could do this with ribbon, like if you had extra little ribbon or extra little tiny bits of like selvage of fabric, you could couch those down. Like the idea of couching, I think, is just so cool. You could really do anything. All right, so just trying to get a piece that I think is long enough. Again, plenty long, I think. Oh, just grab that one by habit. I'm gonna use my little red scissors tonight. Okay, I'm like, wait, I have thread in this hand. Why do I have thread in this hand? I feel like I have 2 needles in my hand, but we're couching, so it makes sense. And I actually don't need that yet. I'm going to work my way down here. So I'm going to do this French knot, this little X, this other French knot, and then I'll hop up here. Eventually we will have to actually stitch this Fuzzles word, so we'll do that too yet. All right, let's get these French knots going. Alright, I'm going to just jump down and do this little X. Oh, your counters for knitting keep wandering off. Oh, that'd be a bummer. I like love my little counters. I have a counter that's just like a loop with a pretty bead on. Like, I'd be sad if those wandered off. And speaking of knitting, that knit sheep that I started ages and ages and ages ago, that's been itching at my brain lately. So I don't know, one of these times I may have to bring that out. I swear I'm practically done with that project. I just gotta push through, but I'm itching for some knitting, so that might happen soon. Oh, Sally's just finishing up the yellow. That's great. That's awesome. I definitely, I do oftentimes stitch a little faster, like I'm actively trying to stitch pretty quick, so we can get through the thing in the week. But yeah, if you're just finishing the yellow, you are doing a great job. All right, let's do this gray. So we're gonna just start here and loop ourselves around. So I'm gonna leave my little tail here. Let's go like our, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch in or so. Shimmy sham that thread up against the line, on the line, and tack it down. Alright, let's go here. Fuzzles. Little stitch on the other side here. These loops, this is a similar loop to this one, and I just put lots of stitches in because it's such tight curves. So I'm putting more stitches in, and that'll probably be the same here. Whereas this, we have some long lines here. I'll probably, put maybe 2 that whole entire line. Whereas these, I'm really putting a bunch in. I think we'll get, let's see, we'll get this guy, this little gray piece done. We'll see how far we get done tonight. How much we get done. Oh, I was going to do that little knot thing. I was going to try that. Well, if I don't get that tonight, we'll try that tomorrow. I do feel pretty good about leaving a little bit there, but I think that knot method might take care of that. It's a little extra step, but it'll be fun. Oh, sure, yes, Kimberly, I will come close again here. So I am, we're doing the couching method, so if you guys are just coming in, oh, Jenna says this reminds me of New Year's confetti. I was saying earlier, I think it looks like a champagne bottle or something, so that's kind of like the same thing, yeah, like New Year's confetti. But we are doing the couching technique, so what that means is, or the couching stitch, or just plain couching, are some different terms for it. I am, what it basically means is you're holding something down with stitches. So I am holding this piece down with the stitches that I'm doing here. So all these little stitches are actually kind of holding these down. If I really wanted to, I could probably pull on this and it would come out. Yeah, there's maybe too many curves for that, but so what we're doing is we're just making a lot of little stitches, and I'm always staying perpendicular to where the line is at that point. So, like here, or like on this line here, I'm trying to be perpendicular, so I'm moving my needle around as I'm stitching it so I can always be perpendicular to the shape. So you can see my little tick marks are always perpendicular to the actual line. So I am kind of moving my thread that I'm couching down. I'm moving it out of the way, and I'm coming up. So I'm up close here. I'm coming up on one side of the line. There, so I'm on the right side of the line right here. I'm going to bring that up, and then I'm going to move the couch, or the thread I want to couch down. I'm moving that towards my thread here, and then I'm just going to go right on the other side and I'm going to go right on the other side of the line. So if we just look close at the line, I have, 3 or 4 of the fabric threads in between the stitch. So it's an itty bitty stitch, but I'm not going in the same hole. And then we're just going to pull that through, and that little stitch is what's holding my thread down, this other thread, the gray, along that line. And I'm leaving, I do have loose ends here. So Lisa's saying, so you leave the ends of the embroidery thread on the front. So I am. So these will be raw edges when I'm done. You could, if you wanted, tuck them in. Like you could have come up at the beginning of the row, like with another needle, so that all these ends are hidden on the back. You could do that, but I kind of liked the raw edge of it. So if we look at it finished, here's a finished one where we've trimmed them. So I'm actually trimming those all down when we're done, so it's not like the big hanging ones. But these are all little raw edges, and I just thought that was pretty cute. You could, though, come up with the thread so they could be going down to the back, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I think it's pretty cute. It just screams couching to me when you have those raw edges like that. So all my edges are way long right now. I'm going to trim those all down when we're done. And the reason, again, why I'm leaving them long is if I accidentally pull a little bit on this, it might slip out a little bit, because it's actually loose in here, right? We're just kind of holding it down with little stitches. So if I tug a little bit or I snag on something, I want some runway just in case, so I don't want it to like come out of all these stitches. Lost my needle here. And I'm putting more stitches on the rounded parts just to keep that round shape. If I don't do enough, we'll just have like some straight, like weird angular circles. They'll look more like diamonds and less like round bits. So I am doing quite a bit of stitches on these round curves. And it doesn't really matter, I don't think, what side of the line you come up on. I'm just kind of coming up on the side where my thread is opposite. So I'm on the inside of the line here, so it's easy for me to move the thread, which happens to be over here. I can move it towards that easily. Then we'll go push it out of the way and go on the other side of the line and still staying perpendicular to that line, wherever that line's at. So like right here, at this point, perpendicular to it is kind of like this angle. Like I wouldn't stitch it like this way. You'll get like a funny angle in your couched thread. So you always kind of want to go with the flow of the line, just going like perpendicular to it. So that angle will shift a lot on these small little bits. These small curves. Oh, Sharon's asking how my mom's cat could survive outside in -degree weather. Because it's kind of what it was built for. So Chad is a what they call a working cat. So that is his like natural habitat is outside. He does have access to the garage where he has a bed and a litter box and food and water. So if it's cold, he'll go in the garage and he'll kind of sit up on the car. So he's a little off the ground, and he's got like his little bed and a heated water bowl and stuff. So he can and does go in when it's too cold, but he has so much floof on him, and that is his natural thing. Like, he is totally fine. I mean, I'm sure he'd like it a little bit warmer, but he has what he needs to be okay. It's kind of like a fox or something, like they're outside. So you guys got to see him when he was inside, and that was a treat. More of a treat for me. He kind of has his limit on how he wants to stay, how long he wants to stay inside. And we don't actually keep him inside for very long when it's too cold out, because, then he's going from warm to cold. Oh, that sounds so pretty. Embroidery blocks into a quilt. There of dogs. That sounds like it'd be a really, really sweet quilt. Yeah, he's basically like a farm cat. His favorite place ever is like the wood pile. That's usually where we see him come out of. Oh, so the embroideries are different sizes. Do I have any tips for getting him to a quilt? Well, I think maybe the easiest thing you could do is... Oh, I'm going to get... Oh, should I add one more stitch in here? I'm going to add one more tiny stitch in here. I think an easy way is to turn them into all the same size. So if all the embroideries for a quilt are different sizes, the smaller ones you can maybe add a fabric border around. It could be a different fabric than the embroidery, or the same fabric so it blends together. Either or, but you could add a border around it, and then it would be making that smaller piece as big as a big piece. So you could just equalize all of them, like make them all end up a certain size, so it'll have different size borders. That's my first thought on how I'm going to do these little French knots on how you could put them all in a quilt together. Oh yeah, or you could kind of just, like our koala quilt that we did, you could, like if one piece is smaller than the other, you could just add like one border, like make the one edge as tall as the second piece and then stick it together, and then you'll have all of these cute little extra pieces of fabric peppered through it. It's kind of a cute way of doing it. Pam's asking how sturgeon fishing went. Well, they didn't see any sturgeon, so I mean, John and Dad just went out for a little bit on the first day, the opener day. So I mean, they weren't out like for days or forever, but they did go out when they set up, and that's when they cut the hole in the water. It's like 17 inches thick, the ice, and they're using this chainsaw that's like 4 feet long to like or more to like cut into this ice. It was pretty crazy. They took a lot of video and stuff, and took some drone video, and I haven't seen all of it yet, but it was pretty neat. The first day when they set up, it was so clear outside, but the second day, the opener, it was cloudy and blowing snow and just snowing and pretty horrible outside. So that's the type of weather where people get lost on the ice because they can't see anything. It's just whiteout conditions. And then Sunday was just beautiful again, and we could see all the shanties as far as you could see on the lake again. It's just wackadoodle to watch. The ice, I think, was about 17 inches thick, I think John said. But there's still cracks, so they put up these, like, their pickup trucks and stuff are driving all over this thing, and so they have to put up, they have to make some, like, bridges and stuff, too, I don't know, it's dangerous and crazy and wacky. So, and sturgeon are, like, giant fish, like, they can be, like, 5 feet, even to, like, 7 feet big, and, they're dinosaurs. Like, some of them are like 100 years old. It's just crazy town. All right, you guys, I think we're done here for the night. Maru's asking, don't you like to wear a thimble? I've been trying to learn how to wear thimbles more, but I've really only used thimbles for where I really have to push a lot of the needle through a lot of fabric. And this, with these little stitches, we don't need it hardly at all. Oh, Grace is saying, I hope John will post the video. So I think he wants to edit some video together, so we'll definitely post it for that. Do people eat them and catch them? So I think they do smoke them a lot. That's where caviar comes from. So there's caviar with sturgeon. It's highly regulated. Here, I'm going to flip you guys around. It's a super regulated sport. You have to get, it's for a very limited time. Like, I think it's like a 2-week period, and you have a license to catch one, and you're lucky if you see one. But they are freaking dinosaurs, I'm telling you. Like, actual dinosaurs. They're the craziest looking fish, and they're monsters. Sea monsters. And you have to catch them with a harpoon. And do they even call them harpoons? I think they call them harpoons, and they're like these, like, they got like 5 forks on them, and most of them, those can be like generations old, these harpoons, and they're like handcrafted and stuff too. It is a fascinating sport. It is very unique to that area of the country, and it's a tiny bit of time of year in like crazy harsh temperatures, so it's just wacky. It was fun to actually see a little bit of it, and we'll definitely, oh, spears. Grace says spears. That sounds better. They're spears, not harpoons. Spears. Yep, Arloa's saying spears as well. Yep. That feels better in my mouth when I say that. But yeah, it's just crazy. So I will definitely post, I'm just reading your guys' comments, I'll definitely post John's video, at least over in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group, once he gets that going. It's crazy. Anyway, here's our progress for tonight, you guys. I think we're going to get a ton of this done tomorrow. I don't think we'll get all of the swirls done, but I think we'll get this one done by Thursday, and then maybe we can play around with some of the gold or the metal, like couching down doing some gold work. It won't really be gold. It'll be whatever I have here, but we can try couching some other things. I think that'll be kind of fun to give that a try. So we'll continue on this, the embroidery of the month tomorrow. The bundles, the PDFs are still available, and it has that nice pre-printed fabric. I'm glad you guys are liking that. We are hoping to have just some more choices of that coming up as well. So happy you like it so far. This is our first bundle with the pre-printed fabric. All right, you guys, thank you again for joining me here tonight. It's always fun hanging out. I will see you again. We're back on Facebook as well, YouTube and Facebook, here at 8:30 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Have a great evening, guys. Good night.